Welcome to our special panel discussion, where we gather to celebrate the strength and resilience of Orthodox women from the Oriental Orthodox churches. Today, we invite you to join us as we explore the inspiring journals of remarkable women from the Oriental Orthodox churches in the New York and New Jersey areas. In a world filled with challenges and evolving dynamics, these leaders share their personal stories of empowerment rooted deeply in the teachings of their faith. They reflect on the profound influence of the Virgin Mary and the countless women saints who have paved the way, embodying courage, compassion, and unwavering devotion. As we listen to their experiences, we will uncover the unique roles they play within their churches, the obstacles they navigate, and the transformative power of spiritual connection. From community outreach to leadership in religious settings, these women demonstrate that faith can be a catalyst for change, inspiring future generations to embrace their identities as empowered, faithful leaders. Stay with us in this enlightening conversation that not only highlights the achievements of these incredible women, but also reaffirms the vital role that faith plays in empowering communities and fostering unity. Let's dive into this journey of inspiration, service, and spirituality together.
I am Kadist Nandi Sharif. I am the chair of the Sisterhood, and I am the event director for this program, and I will be your moderator today. I think you heard enough from me, so I'm going to start with the panelists. So there's no specific order. What I did was just do it by alphabetical order based on the church, the Orthodox church they belong to. So it was Armenian. And please pray for Pam, Miss Pam Mamorian. She's the Armenian speaker, but she couldn't make it because she had COVID. And so she is feeling better, but she couldn't be here today. She represented the Armenian. Then there's the Coptic, Eritrean, Orthodox. My mind's just going blank. Then there's we already said Ethiopian, Syrian, and Canaan. Yes, thank you. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Mind you, Deacon Nicholas and I were going back and forth. These ladies have extensive resumes, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to have them do a 30-second introduction. Let's see if they could do it in 30 seconds each, and then we'll start the show.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I am Christina Guyby from the Coptic Church. I have master's and doctoral training in counseling psychology, and like I said, I represent the Coptic Church today. I also teach at Rowan and Rutgers in South Jersey. I teach psychology, various subjects in psychology, and I often like to try to bridge between the psychological and the spiritual in many of the services that I do through our churches. I also work in a clinical practice in Philadelphia. Nice to see you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Crystal Signori. I have a master's degree in education administration, as well as another master's degree in applied Orthodox theology. I'm a graduate of St. Sophia Ukrainian Orthodox Seminary. I spent most of my education at the seminary focusing on the role of women and the way women can serve and how they've served in the church. So basically, I was in my wheelhouse today speaking with you.
Most definitely.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marilyn Jacobs, also known as Adanich Jacobs. I am a member of Deborah Gannett Kiddush Gabriel Ethiopian Orthodox Church. I am a transition and executive life coach. I retired many years ago from a life of corporate America to pursue my passion, which is mentoring and coaching, especially those in the midst of transition and change. I am the wife of the late Malaki Barhan Kesis Gabri Menfes Yudus and the mother of Kesis Lekiziguan Kesis Bed Mariam. So I am both the wife of a priest and the mother of a priest. in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. And I'm happy to be on this panel of distinguished guests today. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Your blessings, fathers. My name is Dr. Frey Wahib. I have a PhD in educational leadership and teaching and curriculum. I have been in different roles back in Ethiopia and also here, but most of my career is in teaching in higher education. And currently, I am an administrator in the leadership of AI or Artificial Intelligence Institute in Stevens Institute of Technology here in New Jersey, in Hoboken. I'm a member of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, a wife of a priest as well, and a mother of a deacon. So I am following your roots, Auntie Adanich. So currently I serve at the Sunday school and also a member of the Debre B'Srat Qudus Gabriel Ethiopian Orthodox Church in Newark here. I teach at Abuna Gorgorios Second Academy, which is a school run by Mahabara Qadusan, New York Sub-Center. I'm also the head of the American section of campus ministry in Mahabara Qadusan as well. So we are teaching students in youth in universities and high schools to strengthen their faith and stay in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm Mano Jacob. I'm representing the Cananaya Jacobite Archdiocese. We are under the Universal Syrian Orthodox Church. We are very small in numbers because we keep the endogamy. Our forefathers migrated from Urfa to Malankara in the 4th century, and we keep the endogamy. And His Holiness Patriarch of Antioch is our supreme head. Our faith is deeply rooted in Syrian Orthodox Church. I'm a mother of twins, and my education is physics and mathematics. I'm an actuarial science graduate from University of Connecticut, and I work for the Governor of State of Connecticut. And thank you for your time, and this is the first time I'm representing, and thank you so much.
Well, I'm going to continue. We're not often known as daughters or mothers or wives of somebody, so I'll start with that. I'm the daughter of Selim Altanish. May he rest in peace. I am the mother of 2 deacons and also the wife of Malfono George Kiraz, but I'm also more than that. I actually teach Sunday school here at St. Mark's Cathedral, the host of this venue. And I am an associate teaching professor at Rutgers University, New Brunswick. I teach chemistry, general chemistry, and organic chemistry, where I am actually very blessed to have students of Orthodox faith that come a lot from the Coptic Church and from the Syriac Orthodox Church that belong to the Malankara. And I don't know if I have any of the Cananea tradition, but hopefully I do. And in addition to that, I chair the Syriota Women's Committee, which is a committee of the whole Archdiocese of the Eastern United States. We organize events that empower women. We organize retreats for women, and annually we host a conference organized by and for women. Our host speaker, our keynote speaker is always a woman, speaking about our and spirituality and Orthodox Christianity and events that speak to us. And in addition to that, lastly, I also co-own, and I'm the vice president of Gorgias Press. It's a publishing company that does academic books, but one of the proudest series that we publish is Gorgias Eastern Christian Studies, where we publish a lot of books on the various Oriental Orthodox communities and our shared history and our traditions.
This is going to be fun. That's all right.
So I realized that I gave a short history of myself, but I have to follow suit of the wonderful panelists up here. I am an osteopathic physician by trade, so I am a DO instead of an MD. We do the same thing. The only difference is I am able to use my hands to diagnose and treat patients. I also have my master's in biomedical sciences. Other than being a chair and a youth advisor, I am the founder of Orthodox Gems, which is an organization for young women within the Orthodox faith to understand how to lead a life within our church, but then also know how to separate the secular world from the religious world, but how they can intertwine, and also understand that love and respect starts with me. So before you can expect anybody else to respect you, you have to respect yourself. And I am no longer doing clinical care by trade. I do it on the side because I own my own business focusing on physician mental health. Because the stats for a physician and their mental health is deplorable, and we need to do more to help them out. Now we're gonna start with the first question. So these questions were set up by His Grace Abuna Petros and then the clergy of Deborah Gannett Kiddush Gabriel to help us enlighten ourselves, and also get into the depth of the church, but then also they can personalize it for themselves and to empower everybody in the audience. So the first one, given the global challenges facing the Orthodox faith, how do you navigate these struggles as a woman, and what influences do you believe you have in addressing these crises? And about 1 minute or less, please answer this. I know you're looking at me, but
No,
it's-
loud. We just
Oh.
need to hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me? No? So nothing I just said you heard. Sorry about that. So I know these mics, yesterday we tried it, it was perfect, and then now it's a struggle. So the very first question we're gonna have, is that better? People swear I'm loud, but I'm not. So the first question, and that's why we also have it here. Given the global challenges facing the Orthodox faith, how do you navigate these struggles as a woman, and what influences do you believe you have in addressing these crises? No particular order. And a minute or less, please.
Orthodox faith is very unique, ancient, and it started from the beginning of the Christianity. Hence, it faced a lot of challenges, such as its liturgical changes, identity laws, diaspora. It is very ancient, and population decline, and all those things happened. But Orthodox means orthodox. It's conservative. Like someone said, we are Orthodox family. The beauty, how do we address these challenges, or how do we navigate these struggles, just like what we are doing today? Just come under one umbrella or under a tree, being different branches, and unite these churches together, and we try to move forward, especially passing those to the generation. I'm a writer too. I wrote a book for the Cananaya history book for the children. And that is the way we can pass these unique, beautiful liturgies and its identity to keep moving forward. And the iconic representation that we were doing, and being unique, and come back to its original faith, come back to it. That is how I look into it.
Yes, so as an educator myself, I believe in the power of education and creating awareness. But in most of the time in our churches, we focus on teaching the theology of the church. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I was just saying, focusing on education and awareness. I'm an educator. Most of my comments deal around education and the power of education. And when I say educating, especially the next generation, it's not only the theology. The tradition in our culture also should be implanted in our children and the generation that is taking over our church for the years to come. I'll add one more thing and then I'll finish. I also say, when we do in the global world, in our communities, we focus only things around us. When I say, if it's Ethiopian community, everything we do is about Ethiopia and Ethiopians and Ethiopian community. But we can look around and make an impact, positive impact to our local environment, right? So when there is disaster, we have to be out to support. When there is, the community needs us, regardless of what that community is, we belong there. So we have to be out there and support. We have to look outside of our, not only Orthodox, not only Ethiopian, but also our local community and be part of it and show our presence and put a positive impact on.
One of the things that we really need to understand is that we are in an age of information. And rooted in our information is history, is our theology, it's our beliefs, it's our faith, which is as ancient as time, but it is available now across the world. And platforms like this, where we're live streaming, are ways in which people are able to learn, to grow, and to connect with each other. And it's more platforms would be my answer. And how do we address? We need to understand what the crises are. We can't hide them under the rug anymore and say there's, war-torn countries here, there's, famine, there's poverty, it's everywhere. And we need to not go, okay, everything is fine and just go to church and we'll pray and everything will go away. We have to address the issues. So it is a matter of these environments and these circles where women are empowered to understand that we make a difference.
I want to piggyback on everything that the wonderful panelists are saying. And in terms of influence, I think what we can do is use the laws and the rules that are given to us within this country. So I want to give you one example. For example, I teach at a very large university, Rutgers University New Brunswick campus. It has 45,000 students. Because of that, it's very difficult to administer exams. And they used to do this crazy thing where they would administer their exams on Sundays, which always interfered with worship. One year, it was on the Feast of Easter. Because we're Orthodox, and it was one of the years, it was a couple of years ago where there was about 5 weeks difference, it wasn't something that was significant to that community. And I did mention there is a large body of Coptic students, but if you look at in the milieu of 45,000 students, a few hundred or 50 students is really not that much. So I, as a Syriac Orthodox worshiper, went to my chair and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be there to proctor that exam. That was the expectation for me. I said, because it's my Easter, and I'm not supposed to be doing any secular work on Easter. And there was a bit of a fight, and I had to go to this thing called Academic and Labor Relations, which is an office within Rutgers University that is open to all faculty and staff. And then I got a letter from our beloved bishop, or the Anasius John Kavak, that basically said that now it's a rule, and I don't have to proctor an exam. And then I asked the students to petition and complain, right? So sometimes we have to assert our rights as Orthodox faithful because we're a minority. Even though the majority of religion in this country is Christianity, most are Protestant, and our liturgical calendars do not always align. And and I think it is our right and to use these laws as a way. And I was able to sort of empower my students because of my knowledge. And I feel that education, like everybody said, knowledge is power. And a lot of the times, I think we've been, as Orthodox churches, we've faced a lot of religious persecution no matter where we're from. And it's where our churches are still under attack in our home countries, and frankly in the diaspora as well, through colonialism and different aspects. And I think by looking at our history and traditions and how women persevered, and I'm going to go back to St. Theodora, because when all the men wanted to go away and give up during the Nika revolts, she was the one who said, once you wear the purple, because the emperor and empresses wore the color purple, you cannot take it off. We have to stand our ground, and we have to fight. And she championed the Orthodox faith and allowed our churches to flourish because of it. I think these wonderful examples are examples for us to build upon and follow.
No, I think.
I think similar to what other people have been saying is education and advocacy wherever we are is the right way to kind of advocate for things. And women have a lot of strengths in mobilizing resources, in being strong and kind and yet compassionate at the same time. All these things are great tools to help us to navigate these challenges and to advocate against things like persecution and some of the issues, but also educating others about what we represent in terms of Christianity, our long enduring history that has survived for thousands of years, and the reason behind that, and all the strengths that that brings to the table, both for the organizations that we find ourselves in the positions we find ourselves in, and also within our churches and our communities. So again, women have a lot of strengths in terms of their compassion and their strength and also their wisdom at the same time. And so kind of combining those to help us advocate wherever we find ourselves is a great tool.
So there's been a general consensus up here about certain things. Like one, we are in an age of information. Two, we need to address the issues and create avenues to be open and be willing to talk about these issues, but then also listen and respond in a way where we can all learn. But then there's also the education and teaching. We have a lot of educators up here. And then all focus on the future and ensuring a better future for our youth. So that seems to be something that has been resonated through all of the speakers today. And that goes with the next question, because how have you so far demonstrated, beyond what you have already said, demonstrated your identity and made a positive impact on the world and upheld the value of womanhood in the world and as an Orthodox Christian?
I'll just go first. So I personally have always been guided by the parable of the talents and investing in the talents. That has always really inspired me to go out there and to invest my talents. And those talents, I think, grow with time. I don't think that they may start off like a little seedling and they grow with time. And so I've been deeply inspired by that, and also by the verse of the harvest is plentiful, and yet the laborers are few. And so by these two things, I've been really inspired by resilient women in my family, and tried to kind of study resilience as well, scientifically and professionally. And as I mentioned in my last little kind of answer, is that you should advocate wherever you are. So I've presented at the American Psychological Association over 13 times and tried to bring spirituality into even that kind of setting, and talking about Orthodox Christianity even in that platform. And so in that regard, I think that wherever we are, again, we can advocate, and doing that within our home community. I also have twins that are here in the audience. And so kind of being a mother and being also a person that is advocating professionally and personally, those are all ways that we can honor the value of the woman, but also balancing it with our career and our talents and going out there and using that harvest. Thank you.
When I think about this question, I'm thinking about my gifts and talents that I have. And I know one of the things that the Lord has blessed me to be is, I guess, like a pseudo counselor. I have a great ability to listen. And for whatever reason, particularly women will come up to me ever since I was a little girl. Girls or women would come up to me and will just start sharing things with me. And some people, they just met me in 2 minutes and they will just open their hearts to me. And when that happens, sometimes I don't know what to say. Sometimes I just listen, but I just pray in my head, in my heart, Lord, guide me to support this girl or this woman. And so I don't wear my faith on my sleeve, but the way that I respond, the way that I act in this world must be seen, because when they're speaking to me and I give them feedback or counsel them, I'm saying what the Lord would want me to say. And then they will just come back to me, even if they're not in the church. They will come back and say, well, you know what? There's just something about you. And that's how I feel like I'm sharing how the Orthodox faith is and how women can be supported through the faith.
Sorry, switch my hands here. The psalmist David said it best, that there's nowhere to hide from God. So everywhere you go, there you are. I have had the pleasure in my career to have traveled to almost every continent in the world. And somehow I've always managed to find someone that I can relate to. I was telling the story earlier. I was flying on, not recently, and before I take off, I pray. And I was praying, I was sitting next to a woman, and she started praying also. She made the sign of the cross, and I just looked at her, she looked at me, and she said, "Are you Orthodox?" And I said, "Yes." From New Jersey. She actually happened to be a member of this church. And so we met, and we had a long talk on the plane, and it made me realize that you always find someone that you can relate to and someone that is there for you. And as women, it makes a big difference of how you conduct yourself accordingly because of that. As a life coach, which the title came and the certifications came, and all of that came a long time after I started that mentoring and that sisterly bonding and having conversations. I learned one thing: the biggest skill that we as women have is the ability to be quiet and listen. And when you listen, even if the other person is just there saying absolutely nothing, there's speech in that silence. And sometimes we just need to be quiet and listen to each other. And this is a platform where we're doing that. We're listening, we're talking, we're listening to each other. But as an elder in the faith, next week marks 40 years of my baptism in Ethiopian Orthodox faith. I have learned that the biggest thing we can do also is to reach back and find those that are lost. Those that have lost their way, who may not be coming to church every week, our college students, young women who are out there. Go get them. It's as simple as that. Show who you are by showing up for others.
Yes, this is powerful, what our sister said earlier. And from what Christine said earlier, the MBA program at Stevens, the university I work at, made a big decision last year because of myself and another professor who's also Orthodox. So the MBA program has an immersion weekend every year in May, early May, but last year our Easter was way back, right? It wasn't in April. Our Easter was on the 5th of May. So they met that week and I couldn't go, that professor can't go, and we said it's our Easter weekend. And they can't cancel it because there are so many flights and all the program agenda were created, but they marked it on their calendar. Never in the future will they have the Easter weekend of Orthodox to be, they have it on their calendar. They're not going to have that immersion weekend in May if it was on the Orthodox Easter. And the New Jersey School District Board of Education also listed our holiday as Easter for students, even the Good Friday and the Holy Week as religious observance, so students could have excuses to miss school on those days. That is a big presence and a big influence. And I will wrap up my point here. I am a big fan of mentoring. I myself are a product of so many mentors in my life as a little child. So I again say I think I have a talent, or my gift is to influence, to mentor. And sometimes in our Orthodox teaching, in our Christian teaching, it's being humble, being shy, and the thought of I'm not worth it is taken too far to a negative, that we don't show our worth, we don't show our talents and grow seed from it, right? In terms of mentoring others. So I always say when people call me like, hey, Dr. Frey, or Dr. Wahib, let's say, like, please don't call me doctor. Yes, that I mean really, but in some places I might show that doctorship, right? So I can show my identity and then have a better influence in people who consider that as something big, right? So this is just a small example, but being shy and humble should have a limit, and we have to use of all the hard work we've gone through, the hardships and the life lessons we got to mentor the youth and people younger than us, the next generation.
The Orthodox faith is a way of life. So hence, show the Orthodox tradition, just like Christian already mentioned that. And how does it impact the world? Regardless of religion, when you see a woman praying, that is giving a positive energy to the entire world. This is Jacob was saying about in the airplane. So hence, being an Orthodox woman, you automatically have some justice. Doing the cross when you see a cross, kissing the hands of the bishop, or all those strict, that simple justice, that comes automatically showing you are an Orthodox woman. And then the upholding the value of womanhood, like in our Holy Mass, throughout the morning prayer, it starts with prayer to the Mother Mary, the even morning prayer, all those Syriac songs and everything is from all the history. It is showing the value of womanhood. In Good Friday and Easter, all our songs are the discussion between Jesus and Mother Mary and all those. All those proves the significance of a woman in the process of salvation. So in a nutshell, Orthodox faith and church always uphold the value of womanhood, and let us hold to that traditions and let us give that positive energy to the world moving forward. Amen.
So common theme, right? Educate and empower. So as a woman, we do have a lot of influence over our children. But many of us teach Sunday school. I am a Sunday school teacher. I do teach kindergarten. And those are 5, 6-year-olds. They're like a sponge, and they will absorb whatever you say. And there's a reason why Jesus said, "Let the children come to me," when they were in a crowd of people. So I always try to keep that in mind as an Orthodox woman, and I always try to empower the youth of all ages. And as a college professor, I sort of put that on my sleeve. And I kind of see myself as a facilitator of success, so I think of it as I'm the guide on the side. I'm not the sage on the stage lecturing and telling them what to do. And I basically design my courses and assignments with that in mind, right? So I do not have any assignments that are due on Sunday, because if there are Orthodox faithful or other Christians, maybe they want to go to church and they don't want to do homework. So they're due on Monday night. And there are these little things that we can all do to live an Orthodox life and sort of power to educate and empower the youth. And the other way sort of you can empower the youth is, again, I'm gonna plug something in here. At Rutgers University, we started a student organization. It's called RU, R for Rutgers, U for University, but it also has the question of are you? Suryoyo. Suryoyo means are you Syriac in the Aramaic language. And so we have some of our Coptic brothers and sisters who joined that organization. And it's kind of a nice, diverse group of students who come together. They hold events. It's a sisterly, brotherly bonding. They have study nights. They go out together, but they also have Bible study. So we bring the Orthodox faith to that sort of scholarly community that doesn't necessarily always welcome Orthodox religious ideology. But there are spaces where it is allowed and we can thrive as well.
So, Dr. Christine, in the interest of being really transparent, since Dr. Kiki and I are both alumni of Rutgers University New Brunswick campus, I'm saying that that's a good mentoring opportunity right there for both of us to get involved too.
I second that. As you can see, I think all the women, one common theme on the stage is mentorship and see one, do one, teach one. And my sister, there is no such thing as a pseudo counselor or a pseudo coach. You're either born with it, you learned it, you gain it through life, or however any means you have it, you have it. So if people come to you, that means they see something in you, and you continue to shine your light.
Amen.
And then the other thing is, everybody on the stage has so far been using their talents and skills to give back and teach. And not just teach, but to help in many ways, in whichever way is possible. I'm sure everybody on the stage has seen somebody and gave them $1 or food if they were hungry, gave somebody a hug, because I know my dad gave us a story one time that there was a poverty in this country and there were soldiers. There were soldiers and they went to feed a little kid and he would not eat. And one of the things was he just wanted a hug. That's all he wanted. And then he got the hug and he went to eat. So these are the little things that make a difference. It's not always material things. Sometimes it's the little things. But then there is that statement of finding the lost and paying it forward. And that goes into the next question. How would you define the Orthodox faith in the 21st century, and how do you believe it's perceived by others? Because I know personally, I spend a lot of time explaining the faith, explaining what we believe, and explaining what we do. So I want to know how you ladies also do the same.
Just go down the line? Yeah.
I would first start by saying that our faith is very timeless, unchanging, deeply grounded, resilient, stable, enduring, consistent, dependable, deep, rich, spiritual, and also involves community. It has transcended time. It hasn't changed with time in 2,000 years. And I think that people are interested and curious in that, but don't always understand it. So first of all, by our actions in our everyday world and representing Christ, and in my case, the Coptic Church and our fellow people here from the other Oriental faiths, it's helpful to open up our churches, make people feel welcome, make them feel that they can understand. And our job is to serve and to teach and to love and to connect to our community, whether it's through festivals like we have one in St. Anthony this weekend, but it's to educate, and there's flyers all over our churches when we have those kinds of events to allow people to come in and get a glimpse and taste and see, as the Bible says and our churches say as well. So again, getting their kind of experience will help them to connect with us a little bit better, and welcoming them and teaching along the way of all those enduring qualities that we have.
I think that was an excellent answer, so I'm just going to piggyback off of that and just say our faith is pure. In a world where there's a lot of things going on where it's unpure, that's the best way I can describe it. So our faith is very pure and bold, because the current climate, our faith, we have to be bold, because we are basically the ones who are standing against what's currently happening in our world.
So I'll just add what I'm going to call the complexity of our faith. And it's the complexity of the belief that Christ rose from the dead, right? That's the biggest thing that we have, and we know it within our hearts. And the resurrection and salvation in the promise is how we move forward, and how in the 21st century, I was recently reading a book, and the Protestant author of this book that I was reading said that during COVID, so many people left the faith. They left their churches, right? But what we know as Orthodox Christians is to cling closer in the time of crises, in the time of trials and tribulations. We go more into our faith. But it's based on the belief and the as I said, the complexity of our faith that draws us closer spiritually to one another and to the cross. And what they said in this book was that the power of prayer of the Ethiopian traditional churches, the Eastern Orthodox churches, and they named them all out, said that the power of prayer is so powerful and an example because it's calm, because it's solemn, because it's humble, because it's never changing. So in the 21st century, he went on to say that it's the same as it was in the 34th century, or, whenever, should say 34 AD. It's what's old is what's new, and it's timeless. And if we keep that, then that's the ability that we have to spread and to share our faith from here unto eternity.
So my sisters here mentioned a lot about what our faith is and how we define it in the 21st century. I want to highlight on the second part of your question, how do you think or believe it is perceived by others? I would say, as much as there are people who perceive the Orthodox faith as traditional, ancient, in a negative way, outdated, but there are many, including ourselves as the faithful, who believe it is different. It is deeply rooted, authentic, unchanging, right? That is also a very beautiful thing that we have to highlight. It is tradition. It's not traditionally tradition. It is authentic, and that is a major thing that we have to show. It is deeply rooted. It is unchanging. We're not going to change. Christ is risen, right? It is risen, amen. But there are people who want to commercialize things instead of keeping the deep root of Christianity, Christianhood. So we have to focus on that. And yet, in a society that often values progress and modernization, they might consider it as outdated, overly rigid, right? Even we have that challenge from our young children, right? Why do I have to wear this? Why do I have to cover my hair? Why do I have to, so many whys, right? Because they see the world in a different eye. So we have to give them the eye that we see the church, we see our faith in, and implant it in them so they can also go out and preach and advocate for that native and ancient, deeply rooted, authentic, whatever they call it, tradition or faith, not only for us, but for the generation to come.
My colleagues already defined how Orthodox faith defined in the 21st century, unchanged, timeless, ancient, the liturgies and all those. I prepare the same way. It shouldn't be changed at all. It stays where it was, how it was. I just want to give in Kananaya, a couple of generations back, our families were speaking Syriac in language, and even still a few, they do that. It is how deeply rooted. And I just want to give an example of how it is perceived by others. In my own community in the 1699, when Portugal influence was literally forcing our faith to be changed, And thousands of people gathered, and one of the priests from my community, Ititham and Kathanar, they put a rope on a big cross sign and took the faith that we will not change from this faith. It's a part of history called Punan Kurusha Satyam, because everybody was holding that rope, the cross become dented. That was a history in that time. For the past 10 years, I can tell, even today somebody was asking about Reverend Father Yohanan. He died. They were believers church, and they took the Orthodox faith. This happened in the past 10 years. And another person, he used to be a Protestant and came back and teaching our Orthodox faith nowadays. So it is definitely perceived by others. In summary, this faith is often seeing like significant, the people who are really seeking, and they are perceived, it is perceived by others that I can clearly see. Thank you.
So, the Syriac Orthodox faith is everything all the wonderful panelists said, and I would just add one more word, and I would say sacred. And sacred in the sense that we have to respect our traditions, we have to adhere to them, and the cost sometimes, especially with the youth, can be high because we're losing our youth. So my outlook maybe is not going to be as rosy, as nice, because I also feel that in the 21st century, our Orthodox faith is under threat. There is the threat of secularity, right? And, do you want to be worldly and do the fun stuff? Or do you want to come to church and cover your head and when you're taking communion? Or, spend your Sunday worshiping as opposed to going and doing sports. A lot of young families are taking, we lose a lot of Sunday school kids once they get the first and second grade. What happens? But kindergarten, the class that I teach, will have in a given year 20 to 30 students. Get to second, third grade, that enrollment goes down to 5 to 10. Those families are still part of the church. Where are they? They're doing soccer, they're doing travel, maybe they're doing baseball or volleyball, and they're pursuing these extracurricular activities that are very much a part of an American culture, and there is a big pressure from society to adhere to that, and the parents who don't are seen as not good parents. So, and I think that's going to take a lot of conversation, a lot of maybe we need to start having our own soccer leagues, right? Like Orthodox soccer league. Maybe the Ethiopian church can, have a soccer match against the Syriac church. I don't know. I don't know who I would root for, but who knows, right? But we would make sure then we would not have anything on Sunday. And unfortunately, that is not something that we have. And the other thing is, some dismiss our faith as old and ancient, but you can also bring respect back by having conversation with people who are different than you are. One example I want to bring is, as you know, there is an ongoing conflict in the Middle East and between the Palestinians and the Israelis. And I have a Jewish student. There are protests going on campus, and he lives in the Jewish housing. And he was telling me, I can't study in my dorm, it's loud, and I didn't do so well on the exam, you need to help me out, because I just gave an exam. And I said, okay, I understand. Those protesters, are they accosting you? You can call the police, right? You have the right to study. Have you considered going to the library? He's like, no. I said, all right, but then you're not helping yourself. And then I disclosed my husband is actually from Palestine. He was born in Bethlehem. And his house was confiscated. And I said, there are two sides to every story. And it doesn't mean that we're any different. And then I brought the language of Syriac, Aramaic, back. I said, do you know that I actually can read and write Aramaic? And I've been to a synagogue where a friend, who is a Syriac scholar, by the way, who teaches Jewish studies, because part of the Torah is written in Aramaic. So I basically said, maybe, I know we may have different faiths, but there's more that binds us together. And I was not afraid to have that conversation. It was a difficult conversation, and my colleagues are afraid to have these conversations because there's a lot of doxing that is happening, and if you're seen as pro-Palestinian, you could potentially get fired. However, this Jewish student appreciated that conversation, appreciated my empathy, and appreciated the advice, and appreciated knowing that I was respected as faith. So I think, by respecting others who are different from us, by having open conversations is really important to preserve our faith.
Thank you all. Can you all hear me? Okay, perfect. So, couple things before I even get forward. I've been getting feedback that they want the panelists to be here longer. We're running out of time. What do we do? For the sake of time, we do have to finish on time, so we have time for one more question. We have 10 prepared, but we have time for one more question. But with that being said, there's been a couple suggestions. One, we can leave the rest of the questions on the website, and people can read the panelists' answers. And then the next thing was suggested was kind of like a quarterly or biannually Oriental women's meeting, in which we all can do it most likely virtually, and we can all have conversations and meetings so we don't lose the momentum of today, so that we don't lose the focus. There are feedback forms. If you scan the QR code, you'll see the feedback forms. Please give suggestions and ideas so that we can continue these conversations, and along with the themes of finding those who are lost, paying it forward, continuing to be mentors and mothers in any way that we can. Whether you have a child or not, we are all born with the ability to be mothers, sisters, daughters, friends. And so, this is dying? Yeah, this is good. Sorry. Thank you for that. These microphones are making life rough today. So that is the one thing that we want to talk about. The next thing is, we did say you guys can submit questions, but for the sake of the fact that we don't see any questions submitted online, we will save the last 5 minutes that we save for questions, but the question that I have for the ladies on the panel. And just wanted to recap what we were hearing was like the power of prayer, and that faith is timeless. And our Oriental Orthodox faith specifically is unchanging, traditional, and authentic. And now the focus is on redirecting how to learn in this modern world, especially for the sake of the youth. Because I know in medicine, we always say, if you want to move forward and have parents especially do what they're supposed to do, tell the child. Because they will annoy the parents, they will bug the parents, and they will try to make sure the parents do what they're supposed to do. So we definitely have to make sure that the future is set and we don't lose what we have in what we learn, what we know through our trials and tribulations, that our children will also lose. So with the last question, sorry ladies, I was thinking if we should do this in order or not, but the last question I feel is important based on the theme today. How can the transformative life of Saint Miriam and her 5 sorrows be meaningful related to the experiences of women today?
Go first? Yeah, you would just go CYC. Sorry.
Okay. I believe that women, one of our great talents that God gave us is that we are able to wear many hats and do many things and multitask, and I think that is a great thing. Saint Mary, of course, has gone through many sorrows, many difficulties, many challenges, and she handled them all gracefully and with obedience, which is sometimes difficult to do when things are a struggle and we want to kind of go our own way. So what a great role model for all of us to handle challenges gracefully and with obedience. In every stage and in every season, we can see that she handled those situations to honor God with obedience, perseverance, resilience, and also with grace. And so we do have our faith that can help us work together, all things for good, through our faith, through our communities. If we can't do everything by ourselves, we can mobilize resources around us from other faithful that have similar ideas and similar beliefs and similar values. And so again, we nurture our communities, we nurture our families, we nurture the world around us, the diaspora, our original family homes and other countries far away. But we nurture these things with strength and obedience to the will of God at all times. And so doing that all together as a community is the way to turn our sorrows and our challenges into triumphs.
When I think about Our Lady St. Mary, she's just a model for me for, you have one way of how you want your life to go. And then the Lord says, I know you want to go in this direction, but I want you to go in that direction. So she had to make a choice. She had to decide, am I going to follow the will of God and get blessed and have all the blessings that He wants me to have? Or am I going to say, no, I want to go and do what I want to do, because this is what I feel is going to be beneficial for me, thinking with a secular mind. And so whenever I'm faced with a trial and there's some things that I want, some things that I want to do, and the Lord says, no, that's not for you, I think about St. Mary, because I'm sure the conditions that she was under, being with child at that time, not married, was scandalous, but she persevered.
So I'm going to piggyback off of what my sister just said about a secular mind versus a spiritual mindset. Our Holy Lady Mariam was pure and holy in all. Her mindset differed from our mindset. But our desire is to touch that mindset, if even just for a period of time. To understand and comprehend that mindset takes a lot. The way we can do that and lead through that is through prayer. It is through living this Orthodox walk of life. But what do we learn from her? I think the biggest lesson for me personally that I learned from her is that I don't control anything. And that is God's will, and God controls my destiny from the moment before I was created. And I do have free will, but if I want to someday reach the end destiny, which is for all of us, which is to reach heaven, then I must follow the will of God. And it's just what she did.
So what was the first sorrow of St. Mary among the five? It was the prophecy of Simon, right? What did it say? A sword will pierce your soul. That's a prophecy I think as women we are still living in. Unsaid and unwritten prophecies about our children, that they will be lost, they will be swamped in this world, and they're not ours anymore. So as a parent, as a mother, I live with that fear. So my children are going to, I'm not going to have the control of them, right? That is unwritten and unsaid, but it is silently said, right? It is all parents, my age, your age, maybe you are lucky, Auntie Adanish, because you already have a priest son. God, thanks be to God. But I think for most of us young parents, we're living with that fear. And we try to educate ourselves, learn, counsel. But the only thing that gives me peace is being like Mary, right? Like thinking, trusting in God, in God's plans, despite not fully understanding it, right? So, okay, God, have them. They are yours. Then that's the only time that I get peace, instead of like, let me go to parenting classes, let me do this or do that. So the only peace is that we learn from St. Mary, trusting in God's plans despite not even knowing why it is said, right? And the next, I'm glad that tomorrow in the Ethiopian church, it is Zemene Zege, which is the season we commemorate the flight of St. Mary and baby Jesus and St. Joseph to Egypt. So that is the second sorrow of St. Mary, right? So as a human, I'm a migrant. I flew from Ethiopia to here. But as a human as a whole, we are in a church teaching, we are migrants of this world. Our destiny is heaven. Our destiny is the kingdom of God. And you can imagine what it might feel like as a parent, all of us as mothers, the difficulty and the hardship of fleeing for fear of death, losing your own child. So that's what St. Mary passed through among the other three sorrows that were written in the Bible. So Mary's perseverance in these taught through the exile and hardship shows that faith can provide the strength to overcome life's disruptions. So it's only through faith that we can survive the challenges that are surrounding us, the challenges, the hardship, the difficulties surrounding our church, our children as parents ourselves. Trusting that God will provide safety and refuge. That's the only refuge is, that's what St. Mary trusted. She was only told, St. Joseph was told, I'm not going to preach here. Take the baby and his mother, right? They're gone. What was God's plan? They don't know. They were just told and they did it with faith. And I believe the only peace we'll find is when we have faith and persevere through challenges and do not questioning, challenging, why did you do that, God, right? Then waiting patiently what God's plan is and seeing it through prayer.
Amen.
I'll move on quickly. The first sorrow, the prophecy of Simon. Every woman in their life has a sword in lifetime. It is a gradual process to prepare yourself for that time. Second, flee to the Egypt. Life is not beautiful always. Welcome the unexpected in life anytime. Face any adversity and do as God asks you to do. That is the fruit of spirituality. The loss of child. Age 12 is a transformation age. I lost my daddy when I was 12. And recently I wrote a book, The Spiral Ladder. It starts there, where I changed the Lord's Prayer, praying, my daddy in the heaven. So children should accept the real Father in the heaven. At age 12, prepare them for that. And there's a philosophy, the mountain is the father of a river, but actually ocean is the father. So life is between two questions, where you're coming from and where you're going to, where you are, who is the real father that you're joining. And one time, as a person, when Mary, another fourth sorrow is seeing Jesus on the way to the cross. Sometimes I think, Mother Mary might thought some miracle will happen right there, just like Abraham, son Isaac, God came at that point. It didn't happen. It didn't. Mother Mary might thought some miracle might happen. No, it didn't happen. So how hard it is at that point. So finally, it happened. And then Mother Mary, John took Mother Mary as the mother. That moment, the theology says Mother Mary became the mother of the world. So each of the mother, as we all have children, we can try to be the mother of the world, just like Mother Mary did. And every church needs an Aunt Elizabeth, just like Mother Mary ran to her. I always think we need an Aunt Elizabeth. Every church needs an Aunt Elizabeth as well.
Oh, it's so hard to be the last one after coming back after that. That's going to be so hard. I'll try. So, our Mother Mary and her sorrows. I always try to put myself in, like, unworthily, in Mother Mary's shoes. What must have been like to be the mother of God? Like, every time she cradled him and she was raising him, knowing that She had to be the caretaker. She had to be the one to make sure he came to no harm. So of course she must have had a life that must have been very hard. She must have constantly worried about her child, but that came to bear the weight of the word. She knew that. But what the example that I always bring myself to force myself to remember is she never once second-guessed the will of God, ever. And I think it's very easy to be tempted to second-guess when God tries to lead us down a path that we, in our own wisdom, sometimes we kind of like overreach and we think we know better than God, but we don't. And I think that acceptance is very difficult for us, and I try to always remember that when I'm faced with a difficult decision as a woman, and I try to counsel my students, my Sunday school students and youth I know. And so then I basically try to say, so their life is going to throw you all these hurdles, right? So if you're a college student, you have a chemistry exam, and you have calculus, and you have physics you're taking at the same time, how are you going to manage your time? Stop complaining, find a way to make time to study, pray, right? But, you know, if life hands you lemons, right, from the Middle East, put salt on it and eat the lemons. You go by the American tradition, add sugar and make lemonade. And in terms of the flight into Egypt, imagine the rush in ensuring the safety of Jesus. And a lot of women, and I think sometimes we love our husbands, we love our brothers and fathers, but I think the burden of caring for a child is always more on the mother or the sisters. And so that worry is a constant in a woman's life. And that resiliency comes from giving thanks to God every day for being alive, giving thanks to Him for giving us legs that we can walk on and arms to carry our children, and then also giving us strength in the times of sorrow. Because I don't think there is any greater pain that anyone can endure than the death of a child.
So, recapping everything before we close.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
Yeah.
Is this better?
You gotta have the other mic up.
Other mic? Oh, I have this one.
Okay. Pull it up.
Okay. So, few things is we hear only through faith can we survive. Life is definitely not always beautiful. There's strength in obedience, and there's strength in even vulnerability. And so one of the things we have to know is that knowing how to separate our secular versus faithful mindset is one of the main things that's going to make it, even through the darkness, even through the bitterness, even through the tears and the sorrows. Even in the Bible it says, thank God first. And we must always give thanks to God, because at the end of the day, I know there's a Jamaican saying that says, man a plan, God a wife. Now that does not mean that you shouldn't make plans. That doesn't mean you should have your plan A, your plan B, and make plans for emergencies. But it also means that have faith in God, believe in God, understand that God has a path for you. And even through what I understand in life is there's the covenant of mercy for our Holy Mother. Through the covenant of mercy, if you even give a cup of water to someone in our Holy Mother's name, you'll be blessed. And so it's these little things that even through your faith, through your charity, through your everyday living, can we be blessed and emulate the women that come before us, and also find a place in heaven and in this world for ourselves. Now, I personally had the pleasure to meet each and every one of these lovely women on this stage before today. Their contact information is on the program if you scan the QR code, so we all can keep in contact with them. But before we leave this stage, I want everybody to give a standing round of applause, because they did a wonderful job today. We are all honored and blessed to know you, ladies, women, to have met you and to hear your words of wisdom today. And I thank you, and may God bless you, and Virgin Mary intercede on your behalf always. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.